The Stoics called it enslavement by emotion. Machiavelli called it losing the frame. Both mean the same thing: you gave away your power. The world will never stop trying to provoke you. The weak will always attack what they can't understand: your calmness, your progress, your light. But the true test isn't how loud you shout back. It's how still you can remain while the noise surrounds you. Unbothered doesn't mean passive. It means powerful. It means mastering the art of silence so deep that even chaos bows before your calm. This is the dark Stoic art of emotional control, the fusion of discipline and dominance. A state where your peace becomes your weapon and your silence becomes your shield. Because when nothing outside of you has the power to move you, you become unstoppable, untouchable, unbreakable. Welcome to Never Let Anyone Bother You, where we master the ancient power of being calm in a world addicted to chaos. The greatest prison isn't built with walls. It's built with reactions. Every time someone offends you and you feel the urge to explain yourself, you build another bar in your own cage. Every time you let anger take over, every time someone's words ruin your mood, you hand them the remote control to your mind. And the irony: you think you're defending yourself, but in truth, you're dancing to their tune. Most people are emotionally enslaved, not because someone forced them, but because they never learned how to master their own response. They believe freedom is the ability to say whatever they feel, but that's not freedom, that's dependency. Because if you must react, you're still being controlled. Machiavelli understood this. Centuries ago, he who lets himself be moved by insults is already defeated. You see, people who provoke you don't want truth. They want control. They test you, not to find your limits, but to locate your buttons, and once they find them, they press them for sport. The Stoics called it pathos, emotional disturbance. It's not the insult itself that hurts, but your judgment of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Yet most people invert this truth. They obsess over outside events and neglect the mind. They spend their lives being dragged by other people's opinions, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Think about it. How many times have you ruined your peace over someone who doesn't even remember what they said? How often have you wasted hours replaying a conversation that didn't deserve 5 seconds of your energy? That's emotional slavery, giving your mental energy to those who never earned it. The Stoic sees this trap clearly. The Machiavellian uses it strategically. The Stoic says, "No one can harm me without my consent." The Machiavellian says, "I gain power every time I withhold reaction." Together, they form an invincible truth. Control is the highest currency of power. The moment you stop reacting, you stop bleeding energy. The moment you stop explaining, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability terrifies manipulators because they can't control what they can't read. So when the world tests you, don't fall for the bait. Don't let your emotions become their entertainment. Let them talk. Let them mock. Let them underestimate. Your silence will burn louder than any defense ever could. Remember this law of power. When you control your reactions, you control outcomes. The untrained mind reacts. The disciplined mind observes. The masterful mind chooses. That's the first step toward becoming untouchable, breaking free from emotional slavery. You are not a puppet. You are not a mirror for other people's chaos. You are the observer, calm, detached, and dangerous in your composure. Because the day you stop letting people bother you is the day they realize they never had power in the first place. Calmness is not a lack of emotion, it's emotional dominance. It's what separates the powerful from the powerless. When a man loses control of his emotions, he loses control of the battlefield. He becomes predictable, weak, easy to provoke. The Stoics knew this truth long before modern psychology ever caught up. When you are calm, you can see clearly. And when you see clearly, you can act strategically. Machiavelli called it virtù, the strength of mind to bend chaos into advantage. Epictetus called it self-mastery. Both were describing the same weapon: composure under fire. Because the calm mind doesn't react, it calculates. It studies the insult. It dissects the motive. It sees the provocation not as a wound, but as data, a signal revealing who you're dealing with. And in that stillness, you gain something priceless: leverage. Every time you stay calm, you're quietly teaching the world how to treat you. Your tone, your timing, your lack of emotional leakage, these things build your reputation far more than any words you say. In fact, your calmness itself becomes a kind of armor, the type that drives insecure people insane. Why? Because people who thrive on chaos can't stand peace. They feed on reactions. They hunt emotional energy. Your calmness starves them. They'll throw insult after insult, hoping for just a spark of anger. But when you give them nothing, they suffocate in their own noise. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is better to be feared than loved." If you cannot be both, true calmness evokes fear not of violence, but of unpredictability. The one who doesn't react cannot be manipulated. In modern terms, calmness is psychological dominance. It communicates that you're internally untouchable, that your self-worth doesn't depend on external validation. You're not playing the emotional ping-pong game others live by. You've stepped outside of it entirely. But make no mistake, calmness is not passive. It's not weakness. It's an active decision to conserve your power, to delay reaction until it serves your interest. To understand that not everything deserves your energy, think of Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by betrayal, politics, and deceit. Yet, in his journal, he wrote to himself, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's not philosophy. That's battlefield wisdom. Calmness is your strategic advantage. While others react, you observe. While others argue, you plan. While others break, you build. It's easy to look powerful when you shout, but it's divine to remain silent when others lose their minds, because silence carries something words never can control. So the next time someone provokes you, remember, they want your reaction. They want your focus. They want your peace. Don't give it to them. Let them wonder why nothing they do can move you. Let them realize they're punching fog. Because when calmness becomes your default state, chaos becomes your servant. And in a world of emotional volatility, the calm man isn't just respected, he's untouchable. Every emotional reaction is a signal not of power, but of exposure. The moment someone knows what makes you react, they've found your handle. And whoever holds your handle controls your direction. That's how emotional manipulation works. People don't need to shout, threaten, or attack to dominate you. They only need to know what gets under your skin. The narcissist knows it's your need to be understood. The envious friend knows it's your desire to be appreciated. The manipulative boss knows it's your fear of rejection. So they push. Subtly at first. They test your patience, your pride, your peace. And each time you react, you teach them the same lesson. This is where to hit next time. Marcus Aurelius once warned, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Most people forget that truth. They give their power away every day in arguments, in validation seeking, in endless explanations to people who don't deserve them. The Stoic knows better. He understands that emotional control is not suppression, it's strategy. It's the art of choosing what gets your attention. Because the moment you let someone dictate how you feel, you become a puppet. They pull a string, you get angry. They insult you, you over-explain. They withdraw, you chase. And when they can predict your reactions, they can control the entire game. That's why Machiavelli taught rulers never to show their heart too freely. Once others sense what moves you, they can bend your emotions into weapons. But here's the paradox. You don't win this game by being emotionless. You win it by being emotionally aware. You study your triggers the same way a general studies enemy territory. You map them. You understand them. And you fortify them. Ask yourself, who can still make me lose my peace with a few words? What comments or situations instantly make me defensive? What type of disrespect still pulls me into proving my worth? These are not weaknesses to hate. They are signals to train, because once you know your triggers, no one can use them against you again. They can press the same buttons, but nothing will happen. Their insults will sound like noise. Their manipulation will lose grip. That's when you become psychologically untouchable. When someone tries to provoke you and you just observe calm, detached, unmoved. You're no longer reacting. You're reading them. You're watching their desperation reveal itself. And in that moment, the balance of power shifts completely. The one who controls emotion controls perception, and the one who controls perception controls the outcome. So train your awareness. Before reacting, pause and ask, why does this bother me? If you can identify the root emotion, fear, pride, insecurity, you cut off manipulation at its source. This is what Stoicism and Machiavellian strategy share. They both teach you to rule your inner kingdom before you ever try to rule the outer world. Because once you master your emotions, no one can control you. They might insult you, ignore you, or misunderstand you, but they'll never move you. And to the manipulative, that calm indifference is terrifying. The strongest person isn't the one who feels nothing. It's the one who feels everything and still chooses peace. Indifference is not apathy. It's not carelessness. It's the most calculated form of power, the kind that disarms enemies without a single word. When you stop caring about what others think, you become uncontrollable. And when you stop reacting to their provocations, you become undefeatable. Most people think control means dominance over others. But true control begins when you stop letting others dominate your inner world. The Stoics called this apatheia, not the absence of feeling, but the mastery over feeling, to Machiavelli. It was a weapon, the ability to appear calm while others burn with emotion. You see, the greatest victories are not won through confrontation, but through confusion. When someone attacks you and you remain unmoved, they don't know what to do next. They expected anger. They expected defense. They expected chaos. But your silence, your stillness, your indifference, it's psychological warfare. Because the indifferent person communicates one devastating truth: you are irrelevant to my peace. And there's no greater punishment to an ego-driven mind than irrelevance. Most people fear being ignored more than being hated. Hatred still gives them attention. Indifference gives them nothing. It starves them. When you practice strategic indifference, you're not pretending not to care. You genuinely don't need to. You've reached a level where your peace is self-sustained. Think of it this way: every time you respond to nonsense, you're paying attention, and attention is currency. When you stop paying, their influence goes bankrupt. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." This is the Stoic foundation of indifference. Power lies not in controlling the external, but in mastering the internal. Your calm refusal to engage drains their power faster than any argument ever could. The Machiavellian mind understands this too. He knew that when people can't read your emotions, they can't manipulate your strategy. Your stillness becomes a mirror reflecting their own instability back at them. And when their games fail to move you, they begin to lose confidence, unraveling under the weight of their own frustration. Indifference is a shield disguised as serenity. It protects your time, your energy, and your dignity. It teaches you that not every battle deserves your sword. Some enemies destroy themselves by swinging first. But make no mistake, this level of calm doesn't come from weakness. It comes from mastery. It's built through repeated discipline, through choosing silence over reaction, composure over chaos, and focus over foolishness. You don't rise above others by proving them wrong. You rise by showing they no longer exist in your emotional universe. You stop trying to convince. You stop trying to explain. You simply become unavailable to anything that disturbs your peace. That's how you win without fighting. Not by destroying your opponents, but by becoming so centered that their attacks bounce off your stillness like arrows against armor. Indifference is the quiet declaration that your soul answers only to reason, not reaction. And once you master it, you'll never again be pulled into the chaos of small minds, because the moment you stop needing their approval, you start owning their attention. The most silent prison in this world isn't made of walls, it's built from the opinions of others. And most people are serving life sentences inside it. They live for approval, applause, and acknowledgement. They measure their worth by the reactions they receive. And that's exactly why they're so easy to control. Machiavelli understood this weakness centuries ago. He knew that if you want to manipulate a person, all you have to do is touch their ego, praise them when you need obedience, shame them when you want control. That's the oldest form of power, and it still works today. Because most people haven't mastered the art of self-validation, but the Stoics saw through this illusion. They taught that the opinion of others is nothing more than external noise, irrelevant to the truth of your own virtue. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." When you depend on others to tell you who you are, you lose sovereignty over your own soul. You become like a mirror reflecting everyone else's judgments, never seeing your true face. This dependency breeds anxiety, jealousy, and self-doubt. You start performing instead of living. You start chasing instead of becoming. And the worst part, the more you seek validation, the less you receive it, because people can smell neediness. The Machiavellian mind plays a different game. He doesn't beg for approval, he creates perception. He doesn't need applause. He commands respect through results. And he knows that the less you crave validation, the more people will chase yours. Here's the paradox of human psychology. The one who doesn't seek approval often receives it freely, because detachment radiates confidence, and confidence, whether silent or loud, always attracts attention. So how do you break free from the addiction of external validation? You train your mind to recognize when you're seeking permission to exist. Every time you post something and refresh to check the reaction, pause. Every time you want to explain yourself just to be understood, stop. Ask, would I still believe this if nobody agreed? If the answer is yes, that's your truth. If the answer is no, you're living for others, not for yourself. Build your self-worth on discipline, not praise, on progress, not applause, on consistency, not compliments. The Stoics believed in living according to logos, reason, not emotion. That means doing what's right, not what's popular, because popularity is fragile. It disappears the moment you stop pleasing people, but integrity that stays. As Machiavelli said, the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. You must be both. Be clever enough to see through manipulation, and strong enough not to need acceptance from the crowd. When you free yourself from external validation, you stop chasing temporary highs and start building permanent peace. You no longer react to rejection. You no longer crave praise. You simply act and let your results speak louder than your words. That's the true mark of power. When you no longer need anyone to approve of your existence, you've finally started living it. Because in the end, your peace is your empire, and validation is the tax you stop paying. The moment you realize your worth is not up for negotiation. Emotional detachment is not about feeling nothing. It's about feeling everything, yet choosing nothing to control you. Most people misunderstand detachment. They think it means apathy, coldness, or indifference. But true detachment isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. It's the ability to stand in the storm without being blown away. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That single line separates the free from the enslaved, because the moment you realize no one can make you feel anything without your permission, you reclaim total control of your inner world. Machiavelli saw emotion as a weapon, one that must be aimed outward, never inward. He knew that the one who stays calm when others lose their temper becomes the most dangerous person in the room. Why? Because calmness creates unpredictability, and unpredictability creates power. The untrained mind reacts. The disciplined mind observes. The mastered mind decides. When you detach emotionally, you stop leaking energy through reactivity. You stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided to misunderstand you. You stop fighting battles that only feed the egos of others. You become surgical, deliberate, precise. Here's the truth. Most people can't face your emotions are not your enemy. Your attachment to them is pain, anger, betrayal. They are signals, not shackles. The Stoic doesn't suppress pain, he studies it. He asks, "What is this emotion trying to teach me?" Then he extracts the lesson, discards the noise, and moves forward, sharper than before. When someone disrespects you, you don't absorb it, you observe it. When someone betrays you, you don't collapse, you calculate it. You use the sting as data, as intelligence, as proof of what kind of people you're dealing with. That's emotional detachment, to feel the fire, yet not let it consume you. It's to walk through chaos and remain composed, not because you're numb, but because you've outgrown the need to react. Think of emotion as energy, because that's exactly what it is. If you waste it on anger, gossip, and validation, it evaporates. But if you channel it into creation, discipline, and silence, it transforms. Pain turns into clarity. Rejection turns into focus. Loneliness turns into strength. Machiavelli would tell you, use their provocation as your power source. Every time someone tries to get under your skin, let it remind you how untrained they are and how far ahead you've come. Their emotional chaos is your evidence of control. Emotional detachment is not running from the world, it's mastering how the world moves through you. It's the difference between a slave and a sovereign, because a slave reacts, a sovereign chooses. When you reach this level of inner calm, your presence alone becomes unsettling to the reactive. They project noise, you respond with silence. They demand energy, you offer stillness. They rage, you remain unshaken. That's the dark beauty of emotional detachment. It turns every attack into fuel, every insult into silence, every pain into wisdom. And soon, you realize the world no longer bothers you, because you've stopped being bothered by the world within you. There is a kind of silence that feels louder than rage, a kind of stillness that cuts deeper than words. That silence is indifference. Indifference is the final form of control. It's not pretending you don't care. It's genuinely not needing to. And once you reach that point, you become untouchable. People who try to bother you are not really looking for victory, they're looking for reaction. They want to prove that they matter enough to disturb your peace. The moment you react, you confirm their importance. But when you remain indifferent, you erase them from the battlefield entirely. That's why Machiavelli viewed indifference as a psychological weapon. It disarms without effort, punishes without noise, and dominates without conflict. Your enemy wants your attention, deny it, and you starve them of relevance. They throw insults, rumors, and emotional traps at you. But you don't flinch. You don't explain. You don't engage. You simply carry on calm, unshaken, and frighteningly composed. Because the one who can't be provoked controls the one who can. Stoicism calls this apatheia, freedom from passion, not from compassion. It's the ability to act from reason, not reaction. Marcus Aurelius mastered this long before psychology gave it a name. He faced betrayal, loss, and slander. Yet he wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." The Machiavellian mind takes this a step further. He doesn't just avoid being disturbed, he uses indifference as power positioning. He knows that emotional detachment signals dominance in the social hierarchy, because the one who remains calm in chaos becomes the anchor everyone else looks to. Indifference is terrifying to the insecure. They can't manipulate it. They can't guilt-trip it. They can't emotionally infect it. It's the psychological equivalent of armor beautiful, minimal, impenetrable. Think about it when you stop reacting to disrespect. The disrespect loses value. When you stop chasing validation, validation chases you. When you stop proving yourself, people start seeking your approval. Instead, that's how the dynamic flips. Your indifference becomes influence. Your lack of need becomes the magnet of attention, and the people who once tried to break you start orbiting around your calmness, confused, frustrated, even fascinated. But here's the part that requires real discipline. You can't fake it. Fake indifference always exposes itself. It looks like arrogance, passive aggression, or suppressed anger. True indifference feels effortless. It doesn't need to perform strength, because it is strength. How do you develop it? By starving your emotional impulses. Every time you want to respond, explain, or provoked. Every time you feel that pull to check what others think, resist. Every time you're tempted to prove your worth, remember, your silence already did. Machiavelli would call this psychological dominance through absence of reaction. It's the art of staying still while others destroy themselves through overreaction, because chaos always consumes itself and calmness always outlasts it. Indifference is not coldness. It's emotional discipline. It's the realization that you owe no one your energy, your attention, or your reaction. Once you understand that you've already won, because the world no longer dictates your emotions, you dictate the world's response to you. That is the ultimate Stoic victory, not conquering others, but mastering yourself so deeply that no one else can. There's a silent war that happens in every interaction, the battle for control of the frame. Who defines the meaning of what's happening? Who decides whose opinion matters? That's the real fight. Weak people defend themselves. Powerful people define the frame. When someone disrespects you, most people instinctively defend. They explain, they justify, they argue, they try to change the other person's mind. But every explanation is a confession that you care what they think, that their words hold power over your sense of worth. That's how they win. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology gave it a name. The moment you start defending, you're no longer leading the conversation, you're reacting to it. You've allowed the other person to dictate the emotional and psychological terms of engagement. But the Stoic understands. The moment you react, you obey. And the one who obeys loses power. So instead of defending, you redefine. If someone mocks your ambition, don't explain your goals. Simply say, noted. If someone questions your ability, don't list your achievements. Just smile. If someone attacks your integrity, don't argue. Stay silent and let time expose them. That silence is not weakness. It's control. You're telling them, your opinion has no jurisdiction here. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if someone despises me, that's their problem. My only concern is not doing anything despicable. That's frame control, moral and emotional sovereignty. Most people live in a defensive posture. They crave to be understood, validated, approved. But every time you try to prove your worth, you give someone the authority to define it. And people sense it, they smell it. The moment you start defending yourself, they know they've touched a nerve. They'll press harder next time. But when you refuse to defend, when you stay calm, unmoved, unbothered, something shifts. They start questioning themselves. They start wondering if they overstepped. They start respecting you. Because control of the frame isn't about words, it's about presence. You don't need to convince anyone of your strength. Your composure does it for you. You don't need to announce your confidence. Your indifference radiates it. Every time you stay calm under attack, you're silently saying, I decide what matters here, not you. That is the Machiavellian mastery of social dynamics, to remain outwardly neutral but inwardly commanding. To make others feel your gravity without raising your voice. When someone tries to pull you into emotional chaos, don't enter the storm. Make them step into your stillness instead. Let them feel the discomfort of their own noise echoing in your silence. Let them wrestle with the fact that they can't move you. Because real dominance isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the subtle confidence of someone who no longer needs to prove, because they already are, in every conflict. Ask yourself, do I want to be right? Or do I want to remain powerful? The weak chase validation. The strong maintain position, and the wise they don't play by rules they didn't write. When you master the frame, people stop trying to define you. They simply adapt to your energy. You become the calm in every storm, and the storm that no one dares to test. That's how you lead without speaking, by holding the invisible frame that everyone else ends up following. Every insult carries energy. Every attempt to humiliate you. Every act of betrayal. Every petty jab. It all contains fuel. Most people burn themselves with it. The wise use it to build an empire. When someone attacks you, They're revealing something about themselves, their insecurities, their fears, their jealousy. They're handing you a psychological gift insight. But most people throw that gift away because they're too busy reacting emotionally. They get angry. They argue. They spiral. They spend energy proving their worth to people who were never qualified to judge it. That's the trap. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." He didn't mean pretend to be unaffected. He meant convert the blow into fuel. Every hit you take becomes training. Every insult becomes conditioning. Every setback becomes raw material for something greater. Machiavelli understood this as the law of conversion. Use the force of your enemies to strengthen your position. He knew that when people attack you, they're handing you energy, and energy, even if it comes from hate, can be redirected into growth. You see, anger itself isn't the problem. It's uncontrolled anger. Anger turned outward instead of inward. The Stoic doesn't suppress anger, he refines it. He turns it into action. Discipline. Improvement. He trains harder. He studies deeper. He sharpens his mind until his silence becomes terrifying. Think about the greats, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, even Machiavelli himself. They didn't spend their lives defending their reputations. They used every criticism as a blueprint for self-mastery. While others argued, they evolved. While others sought revenge, they built legacy. When you redirect negative energy, you stop being reactive. You become alchemical. You transmute hostility into drive, pain into focus, disrespect into dominance. Let them talk. Let them doubt you. Let them mock your silence. Because every ounce of noise they throw at you adds weight to the quiet you're about to drop when you rise. This is how you reclaim control. When someone tries to humiliate you, don't retaliate, outperform them. When someone lies about you, don't chase their lies. Let your results silence them. When someone excludes you, don't beg for entry. Build something they can't enter. Because your growth is the only revenge that can't be undone. Machiavelli wrote, "Men must either be caressed or annihilated." When you redirect energy, you do both. You annihilate their relevance by refusing to engage, and you caress your own power by feeding it with what they gave you. Understand this. Those who try to hurt you are not obstacles, they are tools. Tools sharpen you. Every time they underestimate you, they strengthen your advantage. Every time they doubt you, they reveal their blindness. And every time they try to wound you, they leave fingerprints, evidence of their fear. Stop seeing disrespect as an attack. See it as free training. Every provocation is a test, a chance to prove how much control you've earned. You don't rise by avoiding hate. You rise by converting it. By turning what was meant to destroy you into the very fire that forges you. That's the dark beauty of Stoic strength. You can't be broken. Because every strike only builds you. So when they throw shade, build in silence. When they whisper lies, work louder. When they hope you crumble, rise twice as tall. They'll realize too late they weren't fighting you. They were fueling you. At the highest level of strength, there is no anger, no need for revenge, no craving for validation. only peace. But this kind of peace is not passive. It is not fragile, nor soft. It is forged, hammered by betrayal, tempered by rejection, and sharpened by silence. The untouchable mind isn't born from comfort. It's born from war, the internal kind. The war between your impulses and your discipline, your emotions and your logic, your past self and the person you're meant to become. Every Stoic knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Machiavellian mind takes that wisdom and weaponizes it. It says, if control of the mind is strength, then losing it is death. Because the moment someone can disturb your peace, they own you. The moment you let their words shape your emotions, you've surrendered the throne of your inner kingdom. And no matter how much you achieve, you'll always be a prisoner of reaction. That's why true power is not domination over others, it's mastery over yourself. Anyone can conquer land. Few can conquer their own mind. Look around you. Most people are ruled by emotion. One insult ruins their day. One betrayal breaks their spirit. One opinion makes them question their worth. They are slaves to perception, addicts to attention, and victims of noise. But you must rise above that. Your calmness should disturb them. Your composure should confuse them. Your silence should make them question their own control. When chaos comes, and it will, your stillness must be a statement. It must say, I am not here to react. I am here to reign. The untouchable mind isn't emotionless, it's emotionally disciplined. It feels everything, but chooses what deserves a response. It grieves, but doesn't crumble. It forgives, but doesn't forget. It loves deeply, but never loses itself in the process. You see, peace is not the absence of storms, it's standing unmoved in the middle of one. That's what terrifies small minds. They can't understand how you remain calm when they would have broken. They can't comprehend how you keep your grace when they would have burned everything down. Machiavelli would say this is the highest form of dominance, to appear unshakable even when tested by hell itself. Because nothing confuses an enemy more than serenity. Your peace is your armor, your silence, your weapon, your calm, your crown. You no longer chase closure, you create it. You no longer demand respect, you embody it. You no longer seek revenge, your growth becomes it. And as you walk through life this way, quiet, deliberate, untouchable, you'll notice something change. People treat you differently. The world responds differently. Because peace has gravity, and those who can't disturb you begin to orbit you. That's when you realize you never needed to fight for power. You just needed to stop giving it away. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this: they can only touch you if you let them. And once your mind becomes untouchable, no one can ever break you again. Because you've mastered the greatest empire, there is the empire within. They tried to provoke you. They tried to pull you into their chaos, to make you doubt yourself, to make you lose control. But now, you finally understand. They never had power. They only had access. And the moment you stopped reacting, you took that access away. That's the Machiavellian truth. Most people will never grasp power doesn't come from domination. It comes from detachment, from being calm when they expect chaos, silent when they expect outrage, and unbothered when they expect to break you. When you stop defending, you start defining. When you stop chasing, you start commanding. When you stop explaining, you start embodying power. That's the point where nothing and no one can touch you. Not because you've escaped the noise, but because you've mastered yourself within it. So from this moment forward, walk with quiet confidence. Speak less. Observe more. Let your peace confuse the world. Because the ultimate revenge is not anger, not payback, it's peace. It's indifference. It's the art of becoming untouchable. If this message reached something deep within you, don't let it fade. Apply it. Carry this mindset into every encounter, every insult, every challenge. And remember, you don't need to prove your strength. You just need to stop giving it away. If this video awakens something powerful inside you, hit like, because your calm deserves to be heard. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I am cold, calm, and untouchable. Then share this with someone who gives their power away too easily, someone who needs to remember that silence isn't weakness, it's control. And if you're ready to master the hidden side of Stoicism, where philosophy meets power and peace becomes your weapon, then subscribe to Think Stoic 101, because here we don't chase validation. We build inner empires